and welcome to this video of mine. My name is Marco Mendez, and today I'll be talking with you, the viewer, about an interesting subject that is kind of a little bit more modern in our society now, post-feminism. Probably many of you are thinking that we're living in a post-feminist society now, with more women being able to obtain careers that before they weren't able to obtain, or going into higher education and earning more degrees than before, or also just being able to serve in the military. Well, in our sense, we may be going more forward in this world, but are we really there? What you kind of want to acknowledge is, where did it all start? I kind of think that one of the major accomplishments to begin this post-feminist transition was starting with the National Women's Party. Now, the National Women's Party was created around the late 1910s, early 1920s, and it was basically there to advocate for women's suffrage. From the doc reader from last quarter, we kind of see that the present program of the National Women's Party is to introduce its Women Equal Rights Bill, or bills attending to the same purpose in all state legislatures as they convene. So basically, they wanted to promote themselves into being able to become more equal to men. They were able to advocate for women's suffrage, whether it was through protests out in the office buildings, or in music videos.
We cry for freedom, oh, hear our voice and see we're equal to all men.
Probably should edit that out. I'm going to bring up some ideas of what we think is going to be a post-feminist, and then afterwards, after the end of the video, hopefully you, the viewer, will be able to decide whether if we really are living in a post-feminist world or not. So let's get this show on the road, shall we? Let's start with the first good idea, bad idea.
It's time for another good idea, bad idea. Good idea.
Teaching women that if they have a passion for something and advance their knowledge to whatever degree they feel like choosing, they can accomplish grabbing a college degree and pursuing any type of career they wish.
Bad idea.
Teaching women that once they grab a college degree, they can accomplish what they really want in life. To have a husband. And some children. And their dream house. As of right now in our society, it's more common to see women becoming enrolled in college or in higher education statuses more than men. There are about 35% of women between the ages of 25 and 29 who achieve a bachelor's degree, while there's only 28% or 27% of men. So it kind of shows that women are progressing themselves and are going up to a higher status of institution. But during the 1960s, this wasn't really the same case. See, during this time, there was more of this housewife model that women were aspired or told to become. Basically, these women were told, oh, you need to go to college just so you can meet a husband. But you gotta wonder, how is it that we went from women earning their rights to vote till now going to college just so they can be a housewife? Well, the reason because of that is basically during this time in the 1960s, there was a Cold War scare. Basically, everyone in the United States was freaking out about being able to be nuked by some country like Soviet Union, perhaps. But really, what was there to be afraid of?
Thousands of tons of atomized earth, building materials, rocks, and gases may be thrown into the air.
Oh yeah, except that. So then there kind of became encompassed this kind of need to have a family unity. As it kind of says in the doc reader, Americans were well poised to embrace domesticity in the midst of terrors of the atomic age. A home filled with children could create a feeling of warmth and security against the cold forces of destruction and alienation. But since the end of the Cold War, women haven't had a need to conform to the housewife model anymore, and are now able to diverge themselves and actually pursue intellectual careers. So now, since the end of the Cold War, now more women than ever have been employed since the 1950s. But there's still rising a problem about wages. Are women kind of earning their wages for how much they work? Well, then that's when we go to the next reel. Okay, let's see what the next good idea, bad idea is.
Good idea.
Having women earn the amount of wages they deserve for the amount of work they do.
Bad idea.
Having women earn wages for the amount of work they do, but not as much wages as they would for a man doing the same amount of work. Although women are able to earn degrees and enter career paths that were unable to be obtained before, it's still becoming well known that women are still earning less than men. Even today, in 2009, for every dollar that a man earns, a woman earns 77 cents of that dollar. This act of paying women far less than they would for just doing their own normal wages can kind of be traced back to early immigration times, where Asian women, Hispanic women, or Jewish women would come to the United States and work in sweatshops for low wages. This abuse of women in the labor force kind of helps to emphasize that women earn less wages than men, and kind of just helps to show that our society hasn't really changed from post-feminist yet, since women aren't still earning that much. Now, even though women are still making less money to a man's dollar, it doesn't really prevent them from being able to advance themselves in career-wise. They still have the opportunity to obtain a career that may be higher earning wage than their husbands. It's becoming a little bit more evident that in some families, it's actually the female that's becoming the main breadwinner instead of the male. If you look in the doc reader, it shows that about 40% of US working wives now out-earn their husbands, as more women have entered the workforce and remained committed to it. But there's some people that kind of think that if women earn more than men, then maybe just the entire integrity of the family collapses.
Because what we're seeing with 4 out of 10 families now, the woman is the primary breadwinner. You're seeing the disintegration of marriage. You're seeing men who were hard hit by the economic recession in ways that women weren't. But you're seeing, I think, systemically, larger than the political stories that we follow every day, something going terribly wrong in American society, and it's hurting our children.
But the one thing that I can't understand, and I don't know if they would ever think of it, is, do you think it would be that hard if just the wife or the husband or husband or wife could just share the responsibilities? Divide the responsibilities, and that is really one of the first steps we can actually make to assure ourselves that we're going to live in a post-feminist world. So the last issue I'm going to be talking about is women in the military. So again, once more, let's look at the good ideas and bad ideas of this.
Good idea.
Allowing women to join the armed forces because they have a passion to defend their country.
Bad idea.
Allowing women to join the armed forces because of their passion for this country, but not allowing them to enter combat. Considering the fact that women make up 14.6% of all armed forces, it's kind of surprising to think that they would actually ban them from combat. I mean, these women chose to join these armed forces. They chose to defend any outside threat to defend our country. And I think that's pretty brave. Before the ban on women in the combat was lifted, a lot of people kind of had these misconceptions about not allowing them in. I kind of think that maybe more because of back in the 60s how we had the housewife model, or also maybe because of the fact that women are a little bit more petite or maybe not as strong as men, which is why they weren't allowed to enter combat. Just watch the video and this is what people thought would have happened if women joined combat.
First Sergeant, I am done with this exercise. I'm on my period.
Emotional? I don't get emotional.
Did I just hear you call me fat? Fat?
I know, some of those are a little bit crazy, I can kind of understand. And now that the ban for women in combat has been lifted, maybe we'll see now more women in higher positions in the Army or in the Marine Corps. There you go. I brought you 3 different views. One with a good idea and one with a bad idea. Now, because of the fact that we have escalated so much from before our times, it may seem that we're living in this post-feminist world, which is what the good ideas represent. The bad ideas kind of enlighten us to what really is actually behind that curtain. So even though that we've advanced so far ahead compared to earlier times, women are still being prevented from escalating forward in this country. So hopefully we start teaching our children to be more accepting of these ideas that women can do more things and that they should be allowed to enter more positions or enter more things that before they weren't allowed. And hopefully gradually through time we can actually start to see us living in a post-feminist world.